Welcome back, everyone, to a very special episode of The Real Deal with Brandon. So, today we are going to be reviewing the new Marvel movie, Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange is a movie about neurosurgeon Stephen Strange, who goes through a terrible accident that limits the use of his hands, and he can't, be a neurosurgeon anymore. So he goes to find other sources of medicine in spiritual voodoo magic stuff, and he ends up learning about the mystic world of the Marvel Universe.
Now, this is some new territory for Marvel. In the past, they've always been a bit hesitant to introduce magic into the world. When Thor came out, they were kind of like, oh, science and magic are the same thing. But in this movie, they're basically just straight up saying, hey, magic's real. Personally, think this new idea they're bringing into the Marvel Universe was a good idea for them, and it provides a real breath of fresh air for the Marvel Universe.
Benedict Cumberbatch steals the show as Dr. Stephen Strange. He's probably the perfect casting for any Marvel character next to maybe Robert Downey Jr.
This movie was actually delayed to work around Benedict Cumberbatch's schedule, and I'm super glad that it did because he fits this character so perfectly. He brings so much emotion and depth to the character, and he actually has an American accent throughout all the film. And at first it bugged me, but overall I got used to it, and I actually really liked it at the end. The supporting cast is also great, and I actually think this is probably one of my favorite supporting cast in pretty much any Marvel movie, at least solo.
Benedict Wong is really good as his character Wong, surprisingly enough. He really nails the kind of silent, sarcastic type, and it really adds more to Doctor Strange's ego and how he gets over it in the movie.
Mordo, who, for lack of a better term, is Doctor Strange's kind of sidekick in this movie at least, is played by Chiwetel Ejiofor. And I thought he did a very, very good job of portraying this character. He brought a lot of emotion to it, and you really cared for him.
Christine Palmer, played by Rachel McAdams, is a good love interest for Dr. Stephen Strange. She's probably one of the more interesting love interests out of the Marvel movies, and I'm excited to see more of her.
Unfortunately, she's not in the movie as long as one would want her to be, but she's still a good character. I think one of the standout characters, however, from this film is Tilda Swinton, who plays the Ancient One. Usually, the Ancient One is a guy, or I think some people have said the Ancient One just doesn't have a gender. It depends on what source material you're reading. But anyway, I was unsure of how well she would do in this role because she was just kind of an unorthodox casting for the character. However, I really, really loved her. She did super awesome in the film, and she was one of my favorite parts about it.
The main villain of the movie, Caecilius, I'm not too big on Doctor Strange, don't know how to pronounce any of these names, but he's not the greatest Marvel villain, but he's definitely not the worst. It's kind of hard to see his motivation for doing what he's doing. He's just kind of the bad guy, but he's pretty good. Wish he was in the movie a little more, but I think it's a good start to Doctor Strange's cast of villains.
Marvel's weak spot has always been its villains, in the movies at least, and with the exception of Loki, they've all been particularly weak and uninteresting. This one was a tad more interesting than most, but again, he wasn't in the movie enough for him to be fleshed out enough.
Going into this movie, everyone was praising Doctor Strange's visual effects in the movie.
From the trailers, a lot of people were drawing comparisons to Inception with the city bending and everything like that. And the comparisons are correct. It is a lot like Inception, only 10 million times cooler and awesomer. It also reminded me a lot of The Matrix, and it's that groundbreaking, some of the effects they do.
They take a lot of inspiration from a kaleidoscope effect, and it works really well with the strange aspect of what they were going for with the magic.
Honestly, the visuals are worth the price of admission alone, and one aspect that the visuals lend themselves greatly to is the action scenes. There was one sequence near the third act of this movie that basically blew my mind. Basically, all the main characters are fighting in real time, but everything around them is moving backwards in time, and it looks so seamless and cool that it's amazing. So this movie is very entertaining. It is not perfect, however. Personally, I think it's a little too short. Certain characters I would have liked to be fleshed out a little more, specifically Rachel McAdams' character and Mads Mikkelsen's character.
And my biggest gripe with the movie is that they don't really show Doctor Strange learning the magic for that long. It just starts from him just kind of waving his hands and nothing happens, to he can create a portal and now he's a Sorcerer Supreme. That's basically it.
But overall, that's a minor gripe with this film, and it only brings it down a tad. But overall, this movie is great. I feel like this, out of the Marvel solo movies, this is definitely one of the best. It reminded me a lot of the first Iron Man, in fact, because it's a much more contained story. It follows only Doctor Strange's adventure, and you can get really invested in it. Like, I like Civil War as much as anyone, but if that's your first Marvel movie, you will not know what the hell is going on.
This is a Phase 3 movie, it feels like a Phase 1 movie because it's introducing a new character to this universe. And it makes me excited for the rest of the Phase 3 movies because they're going to be doing that a lot with Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, even Black Panther, even though we've seen them before, but it's going to be really entertaining to see what Marvel is going to do going forward.
I'm just waiting for the day that Marvel actually makes a bad movie, but it hasn't happened yet, and I don't know if it ever will.
There's something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun.